There we go. I am started. So if I tell people they're not listening, they're not going to hear it anyway. But I guess the phone number is listed here somewhere if somebody wants to call in, but I'm not going to take calls until later. I did come in early, and at the very top of the chat, I've put a link into my Facebook group page and a second link that you can ignore. And then the next link is to my Google Plus page, I think. So if you would like to find me in other places, you can start there. And so the theme of my show today is that I'm going to make some magic today. So we're going to be talking about fairies and fairy magic. A warm welcome to Jenny for helping me out. Jenny Satori, thank you for getting me going and being here to support me. And Cynthia. Wow, there must be a Christine listed somewhere. Cynthia, thank you for joining me. Or has somebody got a Christine out there that they're worried about? Because that name just came through really clear. So anyhow, Lindsay, thank you for being here. And Marilyn, thank you for being here. And anyone else that might be listening. So I'm going to start talking about myself, because what else is better to talk about? No, seriously. I wanted to first explain kind of how I got to where I am on my spiritual path. And I think that helps by kind of giving a rough overview of where I've been and what I've gone through to get here. So first of all, I wanted to kind of talk about how I got interested, and that's, I grew up in the country. I kind of was sensitive right from the start. We were outside all the time. I was at the lakes, I was at the rivers, I was out in fields, I was out in the woods. It was kind of pretty much my entire childhood was outdoors. We went in when we had to, when they forced us to come in and go to bed. And being out in all of that wild nature, I came into contact with the fairies and got very connected to nature. And as I got older, things advanced. When I was 16 years old, I went in to have my wisdom teeth out. I was a cigarette smoker, and I told them I did not smoke because my mom was sitting there and I would have been in big trouble if she knew. And when they gave me the gas to put me to sleep, they gave me too much because I was a smoker and didn't tell them. And it ended up making my heart stop, and I had a near-death or actual death experience. I consider it a death experience because I was legally dead for about 20 minutes. So I basically was not here. During that time, I definitely went upstairs and I was in this big white mansion, and there was nobody there at first. And I walked through the whole place trying to figure out, whose house I was in. And nobody was there. And then I ended up in this big room full of library books. It's like, well, not necessarily library, but it was a room full of books. It was wall to wall from floor to top, one of those really high ceilings, and nothing but books. And it had the big ladder that you could roll around the room to the different areas to get the books that were high. So I ended up going and getting the biggest book that was there, and I had just sat down and opened it up. There was a little settee there, and I sat down with the book and opened it up. And just as I did, a man had come through the door. He had, well, his hair was pure white. It was all the way to the floor. He had a full beard all the way to the floor, and he was carrying a golden staff. And he walked up to me and he kissed me on both sides of my face, and he said, "My Susanna, my Susanna." And that is my middle name. So I kind of knew it was definitely me. And I came back right about that time. So I don't know who he was for sure. I have my feelings. But what I do remember, and what I came back strongly knowing, was that we are deeply loved. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done or the mistakes you've made. There is an unconditional, tremendous amount of love, and there is life after death. And that was the one thing I felt like the reason I came back was that was my mission, was to share that there is life after death and that we are deeply loved. And that's kind of been where I've been going from there. And then my next experience that was really memorable wasn't until I turned 18. And the night before my 18th birthday, my mother's mom passed away. And that night during dream time, she came to me and said goodbye. And she told me she wasn't going to be here in the physical anymore, but she would always be with me in spirit. And that if I needed her, all I had to do was ask or talk to her and she would be there. And when my mom woke me up to tell me, I told her before she could say it. So I already knew. And then the next really remarkable experience that I couldn't deny, I had gone away for a weekend. The person I was with at the time had to go for some training, and I went with him. And we were in Massachusetts, and my mother was in New Hampshire. And I had this overwhelming sense that something was very wrong with my mom. And I called and I tried to get a hold of her. Nobody answered. And I kept calling all day long. Nobody answered. Toward the evening, my stepfather answered the phone and he told me she was in the hospital. And I guess she had gone in for a stress test, which she didn't tell anybody she was doing except him. She'd gone in for a stress test and her heart started not working right. So they gave her nitro. And the nitro dropped her blood pressure so low that they almost lost her. So they kept her overnight for observation. But being, 3 hours away in a different state, not having any contact with her, I knew something had happened. So it was kind of the start of things happening. Then it would I'd be driving down the road and going a little faster than I should. And all of a sudden I would know I needed to slow down or I was going to get a ticket. And I would almost instantly, right after I slowed down, meet a cop. Another time I was driving down the road and everything turned red, like all around me, everything was red. There was a red horizon around everything. And I told my husband, he was actually driving. My husband was driving. And I said, you need to slow down and be very alert because something's going to happen. I said, I don't know what, but I know something bad's about to happen. That's a warning. Red is a warning. So pay attention and slow down. And sure enough, it was just a matter of seconds. And a car came flying up behind us, weaving in and out of the cars. And if we hadn't been aware and alert, he would have hit us. It's that plain and simple. He would have hit us if we had not been watching for him. So it was a very clear, no doubt something was going on message. And now when I'm driving, most of the time, I'll get a beautiful blue or a beautiful green hue on the sides of the road to let me know that everything's okay. And if there's danger ahead, I'll see red. Just literally the whole sides of the road are in on a hue of red. So I get a lot of different signs in different ways. I've had other experiences, obviously, but those were kind of the core things that I started out knowing something was going on that wasn't quite normal. My grandparents and my aunts and uncles that had passed were always, to me, clearly with me. My Uncle Jim, he liked to cook, and it was always his way was the only way. You know what I mean? Like nobody else could do it like he could do it in his mind. So after he crossed, there was a day where I was trying to make dinner, and I went to get a spice out of the cabinet, and they all started falling out. And I picked them up and I put them back, and they'd fall out again. And I pick them up and put them back, and they'd fall out again. And pretty soon I hollered out and I said, okay, Uncle Jim, I know that's you. I get that you're here. I'm doing it my way, though, because this is my house. And then it stopped. But it was just him letting me know that he was there. So there were several. There was a Dreamtime message from him. We cleaned out his house after he passed, and my mom was selling it. And the next day, the house was going to sell. And she had forgotten all about the fact that he had a canoe over the garage in the rafters. And if he showed it to me in the dream and told me that we needed to take care of the canoe, to make sure that I told my mother to take care of the canoe. And she wouldn't have known anything. She wouldn't have thought of it if I hadn't said something. And because of that, at last minute, we were able to go get that canoe before the house sold. So, and it was one that he had actually made. So it had a lot of family history and was an important thing that she wouldn't have wanted to lose. So that was some of the early things. And then later in my 30s, I had moved to Virginia for a while, and I was working at a sewing factory. And I went to the bathroom one day and I'm sitting there and all the lights went out. The power like just completely went out and the factory went silent. And I had a complete knowing somebody had just died. Like I knew somebody just got electrocuted. My whole body trembled. I got goosebumps. I got sick to my stomach. I was afraid to go out because I was afraid of what I was going to see when I walked out of that room. I just knew somebody had gotten electrocuted. And I stepped out and I asked everybody I met, who got electrocuted. Everybody said nobody did. And power just went out. I said, no, that wasn't just a power outage. Something else is happening. Nope, just a power outage. An hour later, they announced that they had had a crew working on the air conditioning unit on the roof, and one of them got electrocuted and killed. And they shut the factory down and sent us all home. From then on, I was a witch. Don't talk to her. She's crazy. She sees things. Something not quite right with that one. So, in Virginia, they don't really know what to do with all that stuff. So that was pretty powerful experience there. And then later when I was back here, when my husband and I got together, his brother was murdered and his brother kept coming through to me. So I had a lot of really serious experiences. I was sitting there trying to do some channeled writing one day, and the table that I was sitting at, I got pulled back away from it. Literally, a spirit pulled my chair back about 2 feet from the table while I was sitting there trying to write. And then I went back, and the message came from my husband's brother. And he gave me great detail about their childhood camp, where he slept, how it was laid out, who slept where, things that I had absolutely no way of even knowing. I didn't even know they had a camp. It was like totally new stuff to me. And I gave great detail of everything about it. And then I started seeing a shadow figure. And that went on for a couple of weeks. There were a few different instances where I was seeing the shadow figure, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I went to see a psychic medium myself to try to find out, why was all this stuff happening to me? What's going on? Am I going crazy or what, So she actually had a show on Blog Talk Radio, and that led me to there. And from there, I started taking classes and learning as much as I could. And I took a ton of different classes and got a lot of different certifications. I started seeing mirages a lot. Like I would see the energy in kind of a mirage shape. And then the more I would look at it, the more things would start to come forward, and I might see eyes, a mouth, and a nose, or, just the outline of a person. It started out that way. So I started taking pictures. I wanted to see if I was really seeing what I thought I was seeing. So I started actually taking pictures of what I was seeing, and it would show up in the pictures. I wanted to show you a few of them. I did actually put a few of them on here that were just pretty clear images that you can't really deny. The first one was actually what I would consider to be a fire salamander. I had my pictures in order, but they're not in order now. All right, so this is what I saw. And to me, this was a fire salamander. This is a leg here. The body's kind of right here in the middle. This would be the facial, the eye, and the mouth, and another eye. That I saw in my living room. Like literally, I was sitting there. I don't have a fire. I did not have a fireplace. There was nowhere, nothing it could have come from. And it just, I could see the image. I could see this energy there. So I took a picture of it. And that kind of confirmed to me, you're not completely crazy. This is really happening. And then I have a few more like that. But there's another one that I put on here to share today. I was going to share it later, but I'll share it now since I'm talking about it. I just got to figure out which one it is here. Oh, let's see, right here. Okay. This is another one. I took a picture of the energy I saw in my garden. And as you can see, there's a fairy here working on my garden. And there's another one right here beside of her working on my garden. So I've got a ton of pictures. I mean, I have zillions of pictures that confirm to me this is real. There's no way I made that up. This happened. I'm seeing this. It's for real. And I could sit here and load up hundreds of pictures for you, but I'm not gonna do that right now. I have too much I want to share. So, okay, this is why I fully believe in the fairy realm. And I learned and explored more about the fairies because they were clearly working with me and for me and through me. So I went ahead and learned more about them. And in doing so, one of the classes I took was actually fairyology. So I'm going to start off with like 2009. I took a manifesting spirit course with Leanne Thomas and what was Brenda Shining Light, Brenda Lovell, I believe was her last name, and was certified by them to manifest spirit. I got certified in basic UC and Tibetan Reiki. I took prayer-based Reiki, and I can't even pronounce the name of it, but I took a prayer-based Reiki course through Sandra and Arthur on Halo 711 show, and got certified by them to do distance prayer-based Reiki. And I took classes with Dorothy Holder on energy vibration expansion and working with your chakras and a few different things. I took Doreen Virtue's angel card reading and advanced angel card reading, healing, working with the angels through them, and was certified as an advanced angel card reader. I took courses with Angel Practitioners International, and I was certified as an angel practitioner and an angelic medium. I took hypnosis. I'm a certified hypnotist and certified past life regression therapist through an HMI. I became an ordained minister through UCL or ULC. Yeah, ULC. I got that wrong there for a second. What else have I done here? I took the 7 Sacred Directions and the Medicine Wheel courses and was certified in both with Cinnamon Moon. And then I took the Fairyology course and I was certified for conjuring the fairies, and I was certified as a fairyologist and listed on Doreen Virtue's website as a fairyologist that people can call and contact for readings. So since I'm talking about fairyologists and fairies, and the show is about fairies, I want to go into explaining a little bit about what a fairyologist does and that, what is a fairyologist? Well, a fairyologist is a person who has taken the time to study the fairies and the fairy realm, to learn as much as you can about them, to communicate with them, connect with them, and work with them. And what does it mean to conjure the fairies? Well, it is to call upon the fairies or the fairy realm to appear by means of magical rituals, to implore the fairies to do something for you, such as help you or help Earth or nature in some way, or even to help you gain wisdom and knowledge about their area of expertise. And I say that because there are many different types of fairies. They're from all over the world. So you might want to know more about leprechauns, or you might want to know more about gnomes, or you might want to know more about the Hawaiian volcanoes and the rock people. And, there's different fairies. So if you wanted to learn their expertise, you're going to go to that type of a fairy. And then you have the elements. And if you want them to work with you, you need to know what kind of fairies work in that element. So that's kind of what the Fairyology course teaches you. And the Conjuring the Fairy course goes into more depth and kind of teaches how you can work with the fairies through the elements and magic. So that's what those courses were about. So the next thing, I got to put my dog down. She's trying to get down. Okay. So the next thing is, how do you perform fairy magic? Okay. I'm going to put some more pictures up before I go any further, though. I need to see if I can figure out which one I want. All right, maybe I'll wait on that for a second. Okay, so how do you perform fairy magic? You perform fairy magic by using different kinds of tools, such as candles, pentacles, herbs, crystals, different colors representing whatever you're trying to work with, places, deities, creatures, elements. There's many different ways that you can work fairy magic. You can go into great detail or you can keep it very simple. It is wise, though, that you take the time to really think about what it is you're trying to achieve and, how can you best do that? I do want to put some more pictures up. My order's gone here, though. They used to be in order. Where is number 2? Of course, I'm scrolling a little too fast. Fairies are welcome here. So the first thing you kind of want to do is to welcome the fairies into your life and to ask them to welcome you into theirs. Because how are you going to work with them if they're not, don't know that you want to? So there's my tip number 1 is welcome them into your life. Let them know you want to work with them and ask them if they would work with you. That would be my first advice. And usually they will respond very kindly as long as you are of pure heart, and they'll work with you as long as you're not trying to cause any harm, and they'll welcome you with love. Usually. Now, if you're not doing what you should be doing, they might not be so kind. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. I'm going to start because June 21st is Lithia, also known as summer solstice. So my goal today is to kind of work more about telling people about the element of fire and the fire fairies and summer solstice. And we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. So let me see, where did I want to go next? Here we go. So the element of fire is the south. It's the direction of the south. And at summer solstice, the sun is at its highest and most powerful at noontime on June 21st this year. That's when any kind of fire or solar magic would be its most powerful and strongest. It's the best time to perform any kind of magic in that realm or with those kind of nature beings would be on summer solstice, working with the fire. So in the south, we have the fire element. We have the sun and solar energy. The guardians of the fire element are salamanders, also Archangel Michael, if you're working with angels. The deities, for the fairy realm, you have the Djinn, which is basically your genies. You have dragons. You have the phoenix, which will burn itself to ashes and then rebuild itself from the ashes. You have tigers. Then you have pagan and Wiccan deities like Agni, Astrate, Bast, Bel. Chango is an Orisha, worked with the African deities. Archangel Michael is the keeper of the south. And yes, he is under the fire. That would be his element that he guards and protects. Yes, he's the keeper of this. He protects the south, that the south element, the fire. And that's the time of the day is noon, and the fire gives you the ability to cook your food. It gives you the ability to warm your home. You can create with fire. You can regenerate with fire. You can purify with fire. Fire is a masculine energy. It is a very strong energy. It can help you to have a stronger willpower. It's a very powerful energy. It can create or destroy. It symbolizes fertility of the gods. And there's a lot that you can do with fire, but there's a lot of destruction that can come from fire. So we have to be extremely careful when we work with fire and really think about what you're trying to do, because you don't want to work with it in the wrong way, or you could totally cause a great deal of destruction. So it's an element that needs to have a great deal of caution and regard. In the fire element, some of the herbs for the fire element are working with the south and the noon hour, and those herbs would be cinnamon, which is a spicy, fiery herb, even though it doesn't taste like it, it is. Cloves, ginger, nutmeg, pepper, sandalwood is an incense, frankincense, myrrh, saffron, laurel, dragon's blood, and several others. But those are some of your primary fire element herbs that are good to work with when you want to work with that magic or that energy. Crystals would be amber, bloodstone, carnelian, garnet, fire opal, gold, ruby, sunstone, tiger's eye, and any other yellow, green, and orange, in those range. Even tiger's eye, it's brown, but it's a combination of the light to dark of the red and brown and yellow, rather. So the plants that represent that element are thorn, holly, basil, garlic, sunflower, juniper, ash, cacti, cinnamon, ginger, nettle, and thistle. So those are some of your basic energies that you could work with, products you could work with if you wanted to work with fire energy. And the next one I want to go on to, I got to think about how I want to do this here. All right, so let me see if I can find the next picture I wanted to share before I go further. Yeah, I think I want to go to this first. There's a lot of myth and lore about fire and the fire element. So I kind of wanted to go into that a little bit before I give too much more out. Ending. My pictures are not in order. Sorry. I numbered them so that they would be, but they're not. Can't find the one I'm looking for. Oh, let's see. I know it's here. There it is. So in part of the English county, they used to believe that you had to keep the fire burning, all the time, and a woman had to tend the fire all night long. If you let the fire go out, people wouldn't make it through the night. So that was one of the responsibilities of the woman of the house, was to keep the home fires burning. That's one of the old myths. And then they had let me just get to where I want to actually explain. Jumping ahead of myself here. Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit here. So basically, we have the phoenix, the bird that burns itself to death and then is reborn from its own ashes. We have the dragons, which spit fire. The fire dragons. I showed you the salamanders. Then you have your fire dragons that breathe fire. And you have fire ants are another one. And spider. Yeah, you can use red candles. For love spells, though, it is too strong. You should also use white with it, or you should use orange. I was going to explain that anyway. But okay, so we have the fire-breathing dragon. You have fire ants. You have the spider, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Why spiders connected to fire. Now my little girl wants to come back up. All right, so I'm getting lost here. So the fire burning in the hearth was to ensure that one's family would survive another day. The fire was typically seen as a bit of a magical paradox because, in addition to its role as a destroyer, it could also create and regenerate. The ability to control the fire, to not only harness it, but to use it to suit your own needs, is one of the things that separates humans from animals. However, according to ancient myths, this hasn't always been the case. The fire appears in many legends. The Greeks told of Prometheus, who stole the fire from the gods to give it to man, and thus leading to the advancement and development of civilization itself. The theme of the theft of fire appears in several myths from different cultures. A Cherokee legend tells of Grandmother Spider, who stole the fire from the sun, hid it in a clay pot, and gave it to the people so they could see in the darkness. A Hindu text known as the Rig Veda related the story of, I'm not sure I'm going to say this one right, but I'll do my best here, Matarivan, the hero who stole fire that had been hidden away from the eyes of man. Fire is sometimes associated with deities of trickery and chaos, probably because while we may think that we have domination over it, ultimately it is always in charge. The fire is always the one in control, not the human. So fire is often connected with Loki, the Norse god of chaos, and the Greek god I can't even say this one. I can't say it. Hepatus, who appeared in Roman legend as Vulcan, the god of metalworking, who demonstrates no small amount of deceit. The fire and folklore fires tales appear in a number of folklores from around the world, many of which have to do with magical superstitions. In parts of England, my doggies are trying to play here. In parts of England, the shapes of the cinders which jumped out of the hearth once foretold major events like a birth or a death, or the arrival of an important visitor. And in parts of the Pacific Islands, all right, you two, that's enough. Dogs are playing here. So, parts of the Pacific West, let's see, where was I? I lost my spot. I don't know. I totally lost it. I can't find it now. But anyway, in the Pacific Islands, the hearths were guarded by small statues of women, old women. The old woman or the hearth mother protected the fire and prevented it from burning out. The devil himself might appear if some fire-related folk tales. According to them, if it burned out, the devil could appear. So in parts of Europe, it was believed that a fire won't draw properly if the devil is lurking nearby. In other areas, people warned not to toss bread crust into the fireplace because that would attract the devil. Although there's no clear explanation of why the devil might want burnt breadcrumbs, but you never know. Maybe that's what he eats. Anyway, Japanese children were told that if they played with fire, they would become chronic bedwetters, a perfect way to prevent paranormal, right? So anyway, okay, onward we go. German folklore claims that fire should never be given away from a house of a woman within the first 6 weeks after her childbirth. Another tale says that if a maid is starting a fire from tinder, she should use strips from a man's shirt, as tinder from cloth of a woman's garments will never catch fire. Deities associated with fire, there was a number of gods and goddesses around the world. In the Celtic pantheon, Bel and Brigid were fire deities. In the Greek, Hephaestus, I can't even say his name, is associated with the forge, and Hestia is a goddess of the hearth. And for the ancient Romans, Vesta was a goddess of domesticity, I can't even say it, and married life. She represented by the fires of the homes. And then Vulcan was a god of the volcanoes. Likewise, in Hawaii, Pele was associated with the volcanoes and the formation of the islands themselves. And then we have Slavic and Savrog in a fire breather from the inner realms of the underground. And then way back, pyromancy is how to perform fire divination. Fire oracles would perform firemancy. In ancient art, by divination by fire, it was first used in the ancient practice of ecstacy. I'm getting tongue-tied with all these words. Pyromancy comes from the word pyros, meaning fire, and the word mantia, meaning divination. It is the art of divination by fire. So you can divinate by looking into a fire in a fire pit or fire in the fireplace, or even the flame of a candle can be used for divination as long as you're very careful about it. If you go into a trance state while you're burning a candle, you might well fall and get your face into it. So you definitely need to be very careful when you're working with fire. The pyromancer, the sacrificial sites, they would read the flames, and the sacrificial fire prophecy was made for the future, and the pyromancy was used for centuries to get augurus of the future. So seeing the images in random shapes in a similar method to those that used it in the scrying would foretell of what was to come. So I'm not going to go into any more major. That was enough on that. We're halfway through the show here, so I want to move on to the next part. So the next is June 21st. As I said, it's summer solstice. It's Lithia. It's a celebration of light, the sun, the fire. It is the day when the light is the strongest. It's the most powerful time of the year. It's the day that the Holly King and the Oak King change rulership. Each runs for 6 months, ruling everything. The Oak King hands his rulership over to the Holly King for the next 6 months on June 21st. So basically, he will run from midsummer to midwinter, and then the other one takes over from midwinter to midsummer. In native storytelling, Spider was the one that brought the fire, and the coyote is the keeper of or coyote or wolf would be the keeper of the south, and coyote is known as the trickster, whereas the wolf is the keeper of the herd. He's the leader. So those two are associated with the south, along with many others, but I'm not going to get into that today either. Let's see, I already went over that. In the south and the fire element, the zodiac signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, are all represented in the south because their element is fire. And yes, Wolf is a spectacular teacher. Okay, so you can work with, those astrological signs and look at their qualities and what can they help you with too. You can always call on those signs to help you with fire magic. Generally speaking, people that have the elemental energy of fire, they're creators. They have a great passion for life. They're very focused on their missions. They might well burn down anything in their path because they get so focused on what they're doing that they don't think about anything else. They're not going to necessarily, intentionally hurt anyone. However, they can blow you right over as they charge ahead with the power of fire. So just like a wildfire, it can rage and run wild and rampant in a hurry. So that's part of their qualities and personalities too. However, they're really great for getting things done. They're going to take charge. They're going to step in and do what needs to be done, and they'll do it quickly and precisely. So they're good to work with too. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about was creating a fire altar. And I have a lot of different images of that. Like I said, we can go really, really in depth, or we could go very simple. So I'm going to show a couple of different altar pictures that I've created just to share. This would be a very basic altar, just a white candle, a pot to burn some herbs in, a dish to hold your herbs, a little small crystal ball just to do a little scrying in, a knife to cut away any negative, a pentacle, that's for protection. It just kind of says this is sacred space. So that's a very simple altar that could be made. Let's see. Try to do this in order. This is a different version. You could put an orange or yellow cloth. Statues of fairies. That one's a dragon. That's a little picture of the sun. It's a little metal trinket of the sun. A plastic pentacle, a little incense burner, a red candle to represent fire, and a yellow candle to represent the sun or the solar energy. You could go with an orange candle. You could add a white candle. You could do white and red. You could do orange and yellow, orange and red, white and red and yellow and orange. Anyway, or if you wanted to just, well, let me go on to the next pictures because I don't remember for sure what I put in here. All right, so that's 2. Let's go to 3. This one's with the red cloth. Now, if you don't have a pentacle and you don't have the money to go get one, I made these really cheaply. I bought these things at the craft store. I glued the star. I painted the stars, and then I glued them to these little round discs that I got at the craft store. Set the intention. This is my pentacle. This is my sacred space protection. I want it to work with the element of fire. I want this one to work with the element of the sun, the solar energy. However, it doesn't even have to be those colors. It was just examples of what you can do. I have some citron here. I have fire opal. I have garnet. You know, it's just, these are crystals that you could place on your altar. You've got the not dinosaur dragon. You've got the fairies, the godmother. And I put the fairy godmother here because fire element is about reaching your goals. It's about driving you forward and helping you to succeed and to stand in the full power of who you are and what you are. So your fairy godmother is a good person to call on to help you get there. So, you know, and where we're working with the sun and the sun gods and goddesses, creation, fertility, the mother does come into play here because she brings new life. So she is also part of what you could work with to create and bring forth new beginnings. So you could call on the mother or Jesus or God or any of these deities. A little pot here, you can put some thin sand in there. Play sand would work. Ocean sand would work. Get little charcoal for burning herbs. You could put that in there and put your herbs on top of it, and it helps to keep the heat from getting too hot or anything. And then you burn your herbs on top of that. So just a little dish of sand and your herbs on top of it with charcoal. This is for mixing your herbs. Say you want to grind them all up so that you can burn them. You can put them in here and use the little pestle and mortar and crush them all up so you can burn them. That's that representation, working more with the fire energy. Let's see. I think that was 3. This one's just the plain table without the cloth. You don't have to have a cloth. You can do it just like that on the table. And this one, I've got an offering dish where I put the herbs into an offering dish. Not going to burn them. They're just sitting there as an offering. So you could do it that way with the little sun and the 2 candles and incense and the little pentacle. Let's see what the next one was. This one, flowers. I've got pink flowers. If you wanted to do a love spell, you could just put a vase, and I couldn't get this to go in any other direction on here. Live, love, laugh. Love, live, laugh, love. And then you've got your red roses and your pink flowers and a little bit of yellow to bring in the newness. A little bouquet like that could go on your table, whether it's artificial or real. Just putting something like that on your altar to do a love spell or to draw love energy to you. The pink is a softer version. You want to mellow out your red with your pink if you can, or with white, either way, or yellow even. We'll bring it to more of an orange tone. So that's another way of working with that energy. Let's see. I have another one here. Of course I can't. Oh, there it is. I found it. Sunflowers, if you want to work with the solar energy, bringing in more light, illumination, showing you the way. There's your new beginnings. Bring in growth, fertility. That's your sunflower can represent that. All you need some sunflowers on your stand. Then, yeah, I think that was the end of those. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, red roses. You could do just the red roses if you wanted. So those are just several ideas of how you could set that up. Now, the other thing I wanted to go into, if I can find it. Okay, so we did the herbs and stuff, I think. I did the herbs and crystals. I did. Okay. The other one I wanted to do was making a mist, a spray. And I've actually made one. I would probably tweak it a little before I did it again, but I'm not sure. It's not too bad, but it's a little powerful for me. My allergies are reacting to it a little bit when I use it. Where is it? Let's see. Right here. All right. So I have a couple of different mists that I've made already, and I'm probably going to make one for each element. But this one is to draw in the energy and frequency and vibration for working with the element of fire. It is a fairy oil mist for the element of fire. And you basically, you spray it around you, not on you. So I actually made one in this little bottle here. And I don't know if you can see it, but on the top, see how it's yellow at the top? That's the oils sitting on top of the water. So you shake it up and then you just mist the air around you. And this is the recipe for that particular one. Now, the whole thrill of magic is you can create whatever you wish. You can do it any way you want. You don't have to do it the way I did this one. You could take just one or two of those or none of those. You could do something totally different as long as it's in the range of a fire, spice, or herb or oil that would work with that frequency. So these were some of the ones that definitely do. Frankincense and myrrh are often used together. All right, so I'm going to leave that there for right this moment, but that's actually the recipe for making it, and it's supposed to be downloadable, but I'll probably share it on my Facebook group page too. The next thing I wanted to go into was actually going over the herbs and oils that are in that one and why they're in there. So somewhere here I had written all that down. All right here. So anyway, okay, before I go there though, let me do this part. Your fairy altar would be used to honor the fairies or to work with them. So you can set it up just with, like, if the dragon is your favorite fire element being, put just a dragon on it. If it's Archangel Michael, put up just Archangel Michael. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be all of them. It can be any of them. So you can go to just a picture of them if you want to. It doesn't even have to be them. You can just put a little picture like this. that can be your altar. So you can keep it as simple or detailed. Like I said, it can be either one. You could do a picture of a fire. You could do a picture of a dragon. You could do a picture of a phoenix. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's just making a point of honoring that element and that energy so that it will be part of your life, you know? Respect, again. If we show respect, we will get respect, right? Okay, and the first thing I want to say is if you're going to work with fire, with any kind of magic, let me put this picture up first before I try to explain this. I'm going to find it. That's not the one I want. I want it. Where is it? No, it's not. It's not. It's not. Can't find it. Okay, I think. Yeah, number 2. Maybe. No, that's not it either. I don't know. Anyway, if you're going to work with magic, there's 2 things I want to discuss. One is how to bring it to you, and one's how to push something away from you. I'm using the pentagram, the pentacle, to do that. If you're going to bring it to you, you start drawing your pentacle. So like if you're going to write a spell out, per se, you would do a pentacle by bringing it to you. You're going to start going downward and then draw out. So you come down, you draw it out. You can do it in the air or you can do it on the paper. Either way, it's your pentacle. I'm bringing this to me. You're drawing it down to you. If you want to send it away from you, you draw your pentacle going up. So you're going to leave it going upward. So that's the bringing it to and sending it away. I know I had a picture up here for that, but I don't know where it went. I'm not even sure what I listed it as. And let's see if I can find this one. I'm going to run over an hour. That's not it. Right there. Abracadabra. Okay. It is actually a Hebrew phrase meaning I create what I speak. So remember that your words are powerful, and how you word things and what you say will help create what you're trying to do. So definitely think about what you're going to say and how you're going to word what you're asking for, whether it's in writing or whether it's just intention. Be clear and remember that you're going to create what you're trying to think about and focus on. I'm still trying to find my next picture here. I should be crossing them off as I do them. Let's see. The next one is I did that one. We did that a little bit. I didn't put the picture up, but we talked about it already. Let's see. and just for giggles, because I can. Be careful how into it you get. Like, you don't have to literally catch yourself on fire to do fire magic. However, you can fuel that energy through you as if you were. I don't know where my pictures are. I'm trying to figure out what's next here. Okay, so I did have a picture of this. All right, I know what I listed it as now. All right, basic magic. If I can find it, basic magic. I'm finding everyone but the one I'm looking for. I got 2, but not 1. And maybe I didn't do one. Maybe I skipped one. I must have skipped one because I'm only finding two. Let's see what we have. Okay, so you could use, red paper, orange paper, or yellow paper. You could use a red marker, an orange marker, or a yellow marker to write out what you're trying to achieve. Yes, this is true. People that have that fire energy, the redheads, do tend to be a little bit fiery. So you could write your wish out, like you could use the yellow pen on the red paper, or the red pen on the orange paper, or any of those combinations. Again, if you're going to write a spell out, like you can cut that piece of paper, like that's an 8x11 paper. You could fold it in half and cut it in 4 pieces, whatever, and use just a quarter of it to write a little spell on with your pen. When you go to fold it, they say that you want to, if you're trying to bring something to you, you fold it toward you. But if you're writing a spell to take something away, you want to point it away from you as you fold it. So if you're going to turn it again, you make sure that any fold you make is going away from you if you're trying to get rid of it, and towards you if you're trying to bring it to you. Just a little tip on ways you can work with the magic and make it a little stronger and better for you. That was 2. Let's see if I can find 3. The other one is to take your herbs, like the ones that I had in the little dish, pour them in here. You can tie that up, and you can set that on your altar with those herbs and use that as a little mojo bag, or you could carry it with you if you wanted that energy with you while you take that out and you hold it in your hand, and you can focus on what you're trying to achieve in your magic work by using those herbs and holding that mojo bag with those herbs in it, or just having it sitting on the table beside of where you're going to spend most of your time, or in a place where you can frequently look at it and focus on it, and focus on what those can do for you and how you want them to work for you and what you're trying to achieve. So you could put that in there and pull all your corners up and twist it a little bit and tie it up with some kind of ribbon in one of those colors, preferably, or white, just so that it kind of represents the light or the fire energy. So that was another possibility. Let's see. I don't think I have any more of those. So I'm just going to buzz through each of these just for the fun of it, because I'm not sure what I've got left and what I did and didn't do. We did the abracadabra. We did that one. We did this one. We did this one. Let's see. There's your energy. This is the sending out energy. Energy healing, which you can do through, you could also work with energy healing through working with those crystals if you wanted to work. And that was the other area I wanted to go into, was the correspondence to the chakras. Okay, those colors correspond to the chakras too. So the fire energy, the yellow solar energy would be your solar plexus. I had written down some of them. So for yellow, for the sun, the color yellow, it's inspiration, it's creativity, it's aspiration, it's beginnings. It is the east, the air, it's the solar and the sun. It's for burning or blowing. So it can be used to make something burn more, or it can be used to blow the fire out. So, think about the yellow when you use it, that it's also got that capability. In Reiki, the solar plexus, it helps to represent our ability to be confident and in control of our lives. It improves our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-esteem, and our personal power. And your solar plexus is kind of just above your navel, midway between your rib cage and your navel. And then the next one is the sacral, which is the orange. Your sacral chakra relates to our ability to feel creative, to be sexual, to accept change, our sense of abundance, our well-being, our pleasure center, and our sexuality. So the orange color is communication, telepathy, new jobs, adaptability, luck, control, and attraction. Then if we go to the red, we have the root chakra. It's your, again, sexual energy, vitality. It's the basic needs of any human, safety and survival, and your security. The color red is for passion, love, confidence, ambition, courage, strength, the south, and the element of fire. But because fire is so powerful, we should also look at the pinks and the whites to help mellow those out. So you could use pink for romantic affection, love, spiritual awakening, and unity. You could use white for purification, blessings, aspects of light, and the cosmos. Your fire magic can be used for lust, passion, attraction, illumination, love, sex, the sun, warmth, and inner power. Those are some of the things that you could do with it. You could divine for love, luck, or money, using it to draw those to you. What do you got to do to get there? You know, show me the way, fire, illuminate, light it up. So those are some of the things that you could ask it to show you the path that you're supposed to go on. What direction do I need to go? Light up my way and show me. That's something you could focus on when you're actually looking at fire. You could look at a picture of fire and focus on that. If you're sitting by a campfire, focus on the flames and the smoke and whatever images come to you there. Those are all things that can tell you a story. You could be sitting in your living room and all of a sudden you smell a campfire, but there's no campfire anywhere near you. Might be telling you need to get outdoors more. It might be the element of fire saying, you know, something's smoking here. Come sit and talk with me, you know. It may be drawing you. And when we're seeking clarity, you know, it helps to be aware of what these things might be telling you. So the more you can research, the better you are. And, you know, I don't know. I lost track of what I was going to say. I just totally lost that thought. So it's gone. All right. So we have the next one. What have we got? The flowers we did. The healing we did. The altars we did. I know I did the altars. I don't know about this one. Yeah, I did that one. Yeah, I did the fairy mist. All right, so that was the other thing, and I don't know what I did with the papers. Almost got distracted and forgot. Not quite though. All right, so in my fairy mist while I'm here, all right, we have frankincense. I put 5 drops. I would actually recommend maybe only 2 or 3. Lavender, I put 10 drops. Sandalwood, 96. Yeah, no, I did not put 96 drops. All right, so the frankincense is a vibrational frequency of 147 megahertz. It's one of the very powerful scents that you can get. And it raises the frequency and vibration around you when you burn that or have it sprayed or whatever. Lavender has a frequency of 118 megahertz. Sandalwood has 96. Myrrh has 105. So as you can see, those are all pretty high frequency vibrations. So they're going to raise the energy around you. They're going to raise your vibration, and they're going to bring in higher vibrational beings to work with you by having that in your area. So you could, you know, mist the area around you, or even spray your little bag of herbs, spray that so that the scent's on them. That's always blended with a little bit of alcohol. They say to use 100% alcohol. I use 70% rubbing alcohol, and I just put like 4 or 5 drops in, or 1 dropper full. It's just basically used to help prolong the scent. It keeps it from fading out too quickly. You don't want to put this directly on your body. You don't want it in your eyes, your mouth. You don't eat it. It's not for skin contact. It's just to raise the vibration around you. So the incense that are in there, the oils that I used, frankincense dispels negativity. It increases spirituality. It's purifying magical spaces, concentration. You can consecrate a tool. Say you want your pentacle concentrated, spray it with that spray. Wipe it down, then it's been consecrated. Protects you against evil, exorcism. You can use it to get rid of negative energies, evil beings. It will aid you in meditation. It helps to strengthen your astral skills and abilities. It induces psychic visions. It can bring courage, protection. It can help you to attract good luck and to honor pagan deities. It is also used in the churches. Most churches burn the incense of frankincense and myrrh. Lavender is used to induce rest and sleep and to attract love, especially that of a man. It is also burned for cleansing, healing, happiness, and relaxation. So if you're trying to go into a meditative state, lavender can help you to get there. Sandalwood is used to exorcise demons and evil ghosts, to get rid of them, to conjure the beneficial spirits that you're trying to work with. It promotes your spiritual awareness, and sandalwood increases, the incense rather, is used by many witches for protection, for astral projection, for healing rituals, and in wish magic. And fire is a projecting energy. It pushes forward, pushes out, illuminates and lights up. So that's a projecting energy. So this is a good one to represent the element of fire. Myrrh is often used with frankincense for purification, consecration, healing work, exorcism, and banishing evil. Myrrh is also used to aid in meditation rituals, and it was commonly burned on altars in ancient Egypt as an offering to the deities Isis and Ra. Patchouli is used to attract money, love, growth, mastery, sensuality, and to promote fertility. Orange was used for divination, love, luck, and money. Since fire is a very powerful energy, we've got to treat it with respect and caution. Like I said, remember that it can destroy or transform, it can burn things to an ash. It can rev you up and drive you forward. It can steam things up or smolder them out. It can smoke you out and choke you. It can forge a path for you and show you the way. And the colors can also be incorporated into what you're trying to achieve. So we want to remember those things always. Yes, I was going to put that on my page. And all right, I think we're narrowing down here. I think I'm getting there. Those were things I wanted to kind of go over of why they're in there. So anything that would require any of those properties, you could work on with that. Just that would help to enhance any work done under any of those things. All right, so where was I here? Next one we did, I know. Yeah, that one we did. And if you look at that fire picture there in that picture, it's actually a I can't even say it, Dijin, the genie energy that you would see in a fire. So if you saw something similar to that, it's most likely one of them. So there's a lot of fire sprites and spirits that you can see in the flames. And that one we did. Let's see. Keeps jumping. I have to go back and find where I was. So we're wishing you fairies in your life, stardust in your soul, and magic in your days. And I did have a little, almost like a meditation I wanted to do. that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. This is really short, and it's sort of a meditation, but not fully. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, I'll have to correct that, Lindsay. I don't know what that means. Okay. Anyway, all right. So I wanted to do this little bit of a meditation, sort of like if you wanted to work with the fairies, you could create a fairy ring yourself. Oh, that's cool. Interesting. Yeah, I'll look that up later to see what it means. So if you wanted to work with the fairies and you're trying to figure out a way to connect with them, one of the things that you could do is create a fairy ring. That can be done with flowers. It can be done with rocks. It can be done with herbs. It could be done with crystals. You know, there's many different ways to create your own fairy ring. So you could do a little bit of a meditation here. Make yourself a little fairy ring with flowers or crystals or herbs, however you want to do it. Sit next to it and kind of watch it. Tell the fairies that you're trying to communicate with them and you would like to communicate with them. And then kind of watch that. And when you see that energy start to shift there, or you feel a sense that it's shifted, then start talking to the fairies. With their permission, you might even be able to enter the ring. And I'm not sure if I've got all of this here or not. That's what I was looking at. Is this all of it anyway? So you would sit and kind of, watch that energy and feel that energy and kind of watch that fairy ring for a little while. Talk to the fairies saying, I created this ring for the fairies within. I ask for your protections today. May I enter this portal while the veil is down? I ask the fairies to welcome me in. May no harm I bring, and no harm shall I receive. And may I return here with a warm summer's breeze when our meeting is done, returning to where you were, like the moment was a blur. But yet you will recall the entire interaction and know what they have offered you, and you will know what they looked like, and you will know what you saw there, and you will know how it made you feel, and you will recall it anytime you decide to. So you could kind of sit there and meditate a little bit, by staring at the realm. And when you get back from that experience and you kind of come back to, write down anything you might have experienced during that. And remember it so that the next time you do it, they might bring it to you again, or they might make it a little clearer or stronger to you. And the more you do that, the more you'll start to feel a relationship building between you and the fairies. So that's just one way that you could connect with the fairies. So I think I'm winding down. Let me see if there's anything else here I have forgotten. Let's see. That was this one. This is a cute little thing to say too. In the in-between times, and this is kind of what summer solstice is. It's the in-between times when we're going from the longest days to the shorter days. It's starting to shift, and like I said, the Holly King and the Oak King are switching places. So in the in-between times, when the days fade into night and the spring melts into the summer and the summer melts into the fall, and in the places in between where the paths converge, a veil is parted between the worlds. The one may enter the other, and the world of the fairy may be entered. But much caution should be used, dear one, for you have entered the fairy crossing, and none return unchanged. So just remember that when you work with the fairies, it will change you. And part of that change is awakening and awareness, because they're going to help you to see things in a different way, and they're going to show you things you weren't thinking about. So it will enlighten you and awaken you more. And my final don't forget to keep spreading the magic of love. And that, I didn't see that picture, but somewhere I had a picture for love magic. I know I did. So I did miss at least one. Let me see if I can find it because it was kind of cute. Let's see. What was that one? Oh, 17. Number 17. Right here. I don't know how I missed it, but don't forget to do the love magic with the fire too. All right, so we've been quite a while here. So if anybody would like a fairy card, I could do that, but I would do that maybe on the next show. We'll do that, and we'll work a little bit more on different conjuring tools. So I'm not sure yet exactly when I'm going to do that. Okay, Marilyn would like a card. All right, Marilyn, I'm going to, if you want to, let me see if I can turn your mic on if you want to talk. Do you want to talk? All right, thanks for being here, Cynthia. All right, let me do, I don't know if I can't unmute you, I guess. I don't see anything here. There you go. You're unlocked. So you should be able to talk to me now. All right. I have 3 fairy tarot decks here that I'm ready to work with. I've got others that I'll use on different shows, but for today I have Doreen Virtue's Fairy Tarot Oracle deck. And I have Messages from the Fairies by Doreen Virtue, and I have Healing with the Fairies. So you can pick a deck. Oh, she doesn't have her mic enabled, so I can't talk to you. All right. So anyhow, Healing with the Fairies. Okay. I'm just going to ask what you need to know at this time. I'm not going to make you give me a question. I'll just ask it what you really need to hear at this time. And when I work with the decks, let me see. I tap them to clear the energy and blow out negative. And then I ask that they bring through the most honest and truthful messages for the highest good in the name of Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit, because that's what I believe. So that's how I start a reading. There is a fairy meditation on my group page for Facebook that will help you. It's a little prayer, and then it's a chakra clearing grounding meditation. So if you want to work with that, it's old. It's the first one I ever did, so it's not perfect, but it might help. All right. So what does Marilyn most need to know at this time? What messages do you have for Marilyn? And I shuffle until cards stick out to me, and I just got 2. So the one that came through is the magic of nature and detoxification, which is funny because the element of fire is purification. So the solar energy can help to purify and clear. Let's see if I can go the right way. So that's the magic of nature. And this one here is detoxification. Now, that doesn't mean that you're doing anything horrible, but everything we eat now has really bad chemicals and things in it. So detoxification can be as simple as just drinking more water, cutting back on caffeine if you're drinking it, or cutting back on sugars if you've been consuming, or even carbs, And it could be a number of different things. You can detoxify yourself from people's energies. If you're hanging around with a lot of negative naysayers, that can be, something you need to detox from. So that's kind of, without talking to you, I can't really tell what you're working on right now. But nature clearly can be used. It fits perfect. Good to hear it. The magic of nature. Again, water is cleansing, clearing, and purifying. So you can sit by a lake and meditate. What I was going to talk about with the fairy healing is it's done with crystals. It can be done with shells, using the fairies to do healing work. The other thing is the elements, fire. You can get answers through the fire, the images that come to you, the thoughts that it brings to you. It can show you the way. Water can do the same thing. Yes, true. When we look at water, if it's mucky, it's telling us there's some things we need to clear away. And once it's been cleared and you've removed the obstacles or blocks that are there with energy therapy, when I say healing, I can't give you a medication that's going to heal you. I don't actually, remove any diseases. I give you the tools and the ability to clear things away yourself, which allows you to heal by increasing your vibration and your frequency because you've removed the negatives. So it's finding the root of what's going on with you by looking at more than just the physical. We're looking at the emotional. We're looking at what your experiences have been. We're looking at, what got you to where you are and what can we do to get you beyond that and to raise your vibration up a bit and get you into a better place all around. And that will allow you to heal whatever you're trying to heal, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, or, it doesn't matter. You're there.
I am. I'm here now. Thank you, Jenny. Helped me to figure this out. It's nice to speak with you.
Good. It's nice to talk to you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So did that fit for you at all?
It did. I have been going through a purification and clearing because I am working on becoming more in tune with my own psychic abilities and my intuitive gifts.
Awesome.
And so I was kind of, thinking about what you were saying and applying it to this process of, personal expansion that I'm on. And I have this affinity with the fairies because while I was in Ireland, I did this whole sort of like fairy hunt and connection.
Check.
I feel like I brought some back with me.
I'm sure you probably did. If you feel drawn to them, there's a reason. So it's probably you're meant to work with them. They've probably been working with you all along. You just aren't aware.
Yeah.
My husband just came home, so the dog's barking because he's home, and he'll stop in a minute.
Okay, no worries.
So yeah,
that was. Go ahead.
If you feel drawn to the fairies, they've probably been working with you all along.
Okay.
They're easy to work with. They really are.
Yeah.
They talk about the bad fairies. Well, the only time that fairies are bad is when you're ignoring them. They're going to do things to get your attention, and if you ignore them, they're going to get a little bit spiteful. There's only a few that will do that. They're the brownies. Have a little bit of ego and attitude, but generally, as long as you're coming from a place of love and being respectful, and you're not like destroying the earth or anything, they usually don't give you any trouble.
And so to work with them on the solstice, invite them to just kind of, do they give messages or do they show by action or activity?
They can do all of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can. Basically, I would recommend. I mean, I don't know what your gifts are. I sense that you have a gift of knowing. Do you know things? Okay, I sense
they're cognizant.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say go with sit down and close your eyes and take some breaths in and out. Ask them, like I just said on the thing earlier, to let you in and work with you. And just the thoughts that come to your mind, write them down. The feelings you get, write it out as best you can. And if you kind of do that and journal it for a while, you'll start to see the message in it.
Oh, okay.
It'll start to become clearer to you that this is what they're trying to tell you. When things repeat, like, okay, I'm watching TV and I see this show about crossing over. I go to the store and, oh my God, on the magazine, it's talking about crossing over. And then I go, okay, when they come to you in threes, and that's just an example. I'm not saying anybody's crossing over. It's just an example of ways they get your attention. That may be a sign that something's about to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool.
They come to you like that. Other ways can be a mental image. Like, all right, if I said to you, do you remember your high school?
Yeah.
you'll get a mental image of your high school, right?
Right.
That's another way they bring it through.
Okay. Okay. Mental image. That's cool. Okay. I have gardens and I just love the idea that they're like that lovely pictures that you showed of them in your garden. I really believe that they're in my garden as well. And I,
They probably are. I would
yeah.
recommend you just sit there and kind of stare at the garden space and let
Oh,
your eyes kind of get soft, if you know what I mean. Like when you stare at something for any length of time, you start to get a little bit of a fuzz there,
yeah.
and then it may start to come clearer to you. The more you do that, you'll start to see where that energy is.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Well, thank you. This has
You-
been
You're
really
welcome.
wonderful. I've learned so much.
Well, I'm glad I could help. And I'm
Yes.
going to keep going. There'll be more
Yep.
shows. We'll go over more and more about the different types of fairies each time. So, and I have different oracle decks that I will work with too. I have mermaids and dolphins, I have butterflies, we have
Mm,
flower therapy, unicorns, So
mm,
we'll
that's
we'll work with all of them so we kind of get a feel for how they bring through stuff. So,
great. All right. Well, I'll look forward to that. Thank you so much, Becky.
all right, you're welcome. And thank you for coming. And I think I'm going to tie it up for today, and I'll look at what I've got for a schedule going on here and get on with another show as soon as I can. Didn't mean to go this. I didn't think I would go this long. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. And I'm going to end the recording.